Thank you for joining us today for this AutoCAD Tips and Tricks webcast featuring Lynn Allen. Lynn is a technical evangelist at Autodesk, and you may have seen her present at Synergist University. We're very excited that she is here to share AutoCAD milestones and her favorite AutoCAD tips and tricks. A few housekeeping items before we get started. Feel free to type in any questions in the question panel on the GoToWebinar, and we'll have someone on the Synergist team get back to you following the webcast. Additionally, we are recording this webcast and we'll be sending out a link following it. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Lynn.
Okay, that was fast. So thank you so much, Ellen, and thanks to all of you for joining us today. And I'm sure I have met some of you at Synergist University, one of my favorite events that I get to do every year. And today I get to share with you some tips and tricks with AutoCAD, which is always good fun, as was mentioned. And hopefully you'll be able to see a couple of tips that you can use maybe even today while you're in the office. That would be great. That would make me happy. So, but before we do that, I think it's really important to know, no, it's not your birthday. Maybe it is your birthday, but it's also AutoCAD's birthday this year. It's celebrating its 35th birthday. If you can even imagine that, 35 years old for a software product, that is pretty darn crazy. Autodesk has been doing some celebrations throughout the last year at the various Autodesk universities, and we're celebrating today with Synergist. It actually, December is really much closer to the actual birthday of AutoCAD. We're pretty close to that right now, and to the actual birthday, if you can claim an actual birthday for AutoCAD. And it's certainly come a long way, that's for sure. That is absolutely for sure. And just to kind of talk about a few of the milestones. Now, I started using AutoCAD way back in the early days with release 1.4. You know, I was only 5 years old at the time, but I was just a real brilliant child. I'm so grateful to my kindergarten teacher for having the foresight to put those computers in the classroom and teach us all AutoCAD, which of course you guys all know is not true, but just go with it. And so I started using AutoCAD in the really early days, and I can tell you in the really early days, I started in 1984, it was a really awful program. It was terrible, but it was all we had, and consequently, we thought it was the greatest thing in the whole world, and we all rallied around it. You know, up until then, nobody had CAD on a personal computer. It was only on the mini systems and the mainframes, and nobody could have, you know, only the big companies, the big corporations could afford to buy those types of computers. So nobody had the luxury to be in their office working on a personal computer using CAD. That was something that just didn't exist before the likes of AutoCAD came out. And AutoCAD really hit the market by storm. There were a couple of CAD products before it, but really AutoCAD is the one that really caused it all to take off. And you know, look at it now. And isn't it hard to believe that a program could even exist for 35 years? And one of the reasons for that is because Autodesk didn't just keep it the way it was 35 years ago, thank heavens. It continued to innovate it. It continued to make sure that it was upgraded. It continued to, you know, churn it internally. So it wasn't using the old technology. It now uses the newer technology that's become available. And it's continued to listen to the customers to make sure that we put the features in that matter the most, as much as possible where we could. And if you take a look at this timeline, I kind of crack up looking at this timeline. This was put together by the marketing team. This is what they consider the milestones. I'll tell you the milestones. The milestones in reality was when release 2.5 came out and they added the undo command into AutoCAD. That's a milestone. That's not on here. Imagine using AutoCAD without the undo command, because that is by far the most popular command, sadly, inside of AutoCAD. We all use that all the time. And incidentally, with that same release 2.5, the trim command came out, the stretch command came out. All those commands that we use frequently didn't exist before then. There were very limited number of commands before release 2.5 extend. All really changed our lives at 2.5. I remember that release. I remember doing a presentation in Los Angeles, the Los Angeles Hilton Hotel. Hundreds of people were there, and I remember when I showed the undo command getting a standing ovation. It was pretty exciting. I'll tell you, those were the days. But you can see some of these milestones. You know, AutoCAD for Mac came out. We have a mobile app now, and Autodesk has continued to innovate AutoCAD to make it the great product that it is today. And if you're here on this webcast, I like to believe you think it's a pretty great product. I'm sure, you know, we still get frustrated with it from time to time, but it's a pretty darn good product, let's face it. And I'm going to share with you some tips that will hopefully make your AutoCAD life a little bit easier. That's what I like to do, try to make your life a little bit easier. So these aren't necessarily based on AutoCAD 2018. I don't know what release of AutoCAD you're using. I will have some features that are on 2018, but I'm going to be all over the map so that regardless of the release of AutoCAD that you are using, you'll get a tip today, I promise, that you can use. Hopefully you don't know all of them. That would make me happy too. All right, so if you've ever listened to any of my Catalyst videos, or if you've ever, or if you went to any of my Synergist University classes, you know, I always talk about being really lazy. I don't like to do any more work than I have to. It's not really that I'm lazy. It's just that I don't like any extra picks or clicks. I don't know if you're like me, but I don't want to do any more steps than I have to get the job done. So a lot of these tips have to do with eliminating picks and clips. So I have some lazy layer tips, I call them, that will help me avoid having to do any of those extra movements around in the drawing editor. So I'm going to start off with my lazy layer tips. And incidentally, accessing layers, going into Layer Manager or changing layers, that's the third most frequently used command inside of AutoCAD. So we do it a lot. So we want to make sure that we're as efficient at it as possible. And if you're curious what the second most frequently used command is inside of AutoCAD, they kind of cheated. They put the zoom in and panning together. But that would be kind of obvious, right? The zoom and pan would be really popular. You'd think that would be more popular than undo. Wouldn't you think that? But it's not. All right, so I'm going to jump over to AutoCAD and let's take a look at, this is really not a very exciting drawing, but I use this drawing all the time because it's got a little bit of everything in it. And let's start off by talking about the layer drop-down list. Okay, so this is the layer drop-down list that I'm talking about, this guy right here, okay, which incidentally, I can only get to this drop-down list, which I go to all the time when I'm on the Home tab on the ribbon. So if I'm over here on Annotate and I want to change my current layer, I have to go over here. Okay, so forget it. I'm not going to do that. I'm too lazy for that. So there are two ways that you can get this layer drop-down list onto the quick access toolbar, which is what I highly recommend. This quick access toolbar is always on the screen. It doesn't matter what tab you're in, it's always there. You can get to it very, very quickly. You don't have to do a pick or click to go to the Home tab on the ribbon. So if you are on AutoCAD 2018 or before, excuse me, what release am I on? 2017 or before, I'm ahead of myself. You can do a right click and you can say add to the quick access toolbar. If you happen to be on AutoCAD 2018, and I'm telling you, the AutoCAD team got this tip from me. They actually added it to the drop-down list. You can just click on the arrow and you can click on layer and it will add it to the quick access toolbar. Okay, so either way, you can either do a right click here to add it, or you can click on that toolbar and click on layer. If you have 2018, you can do that one. Either way, you're gonna get it there and you'll be able to access this from any tab that you happen to be on. No matter what you're doing, you can very quickly change layers, change colors of layers and layers on and off. Forget it, you can get to it really, really easily. And I like that because I am lazy, remember? You can do that with any tool, incidentally, any tool that you use all the time. Save yourself some time. Grab that tool, do a right click and say add it to the quick access toolbar. You know, fill this up with your favorite tools. If you decide to go crazy and you want to fill it up, you run out of room, you know, you can actually take that quick access toolbar and you can move it below the ribbon. See, like I have here, and now you got all kinds of room. You can just customize the heck out of the quick access toolbar. I, however, prefer it above the ribbon. I don't really have that many tools that I need to add to it, but you know, whatever makes you happy. Okay, so what else do I like to do when it comes to lazy layers? Well, I'm going to go in the hatch command. And of course, when I go into the hatch command, it switches the ribbon automatically. That's nice, look at that. To the hatch creation tab on the ribbon. That's one of the reasons I love the ribbon. I hope you do too. There is a very cool option on here that a lot of people don't know about. Underneath properties there, you see I dropped that down. You have the ability to set a default hatch layer so that you don't have to ever go and set your hatch layer. It'll, whenever you go into the hatch command, it's going to know that it always needs to go on that particular layer. So you should do that. You should set a default hatch layer. Why wouldn't you? That will save you time. That's definitely going to save you time. Okay, so there's one for hatch, and there also happens to be one for dimensioning. Hopefully you know that. So you can set a default dimension layer. If I move my cursor down, you can pick whichever one you want. You can set a default dimension layer, and you should do that so that whenever you go into dimensioning, it knows that you want your dimensions on that layer. You know, for me, in the perfect world, there'd like be this, I don't know, like a layer dialog box where I could go in and I could assign all the various objects to specific layers so that I never had to change layers. Or at least I wouldn't have to change layers as frequently. So that doesn't exist at this point, but there are three different, you know, there's two different things right there that you can set for default layers, and you should definitely be doing that, okay? So be lazy like me. I encourage it. Get more things done. All right, so I'm just gonna jump back over to the PowerPoint just so you can see we talked about those. And let's take a look at some other layer tips. All right, I'm sure you know some of these. I'm not gonna be able to show you an hour's worth of tips where you don't know any of them, unless you just started learning AutoCAD maybe. So let's just try it. Hopefully I'll show you enough that makes it worth your while. That would be great. So I'm gonna jump back over to AutoCAD and back over to this very exciting drawing. So some of you may have been in a situation where you have a certain set of layer standards, and now you're working with a company that has a different set of layer standards, and you already have it set up in your drawing file with, you know, certain layers and certain properties, and now you're being asked to convert them over. Ugh, what a drag. So what do? Do you go into the layer manager and then change them one at a time? Ugh, that sounds terrible, doesn't it? So there is a kind of a top secret tool. I feel that most people don't know about it. It's been in there a long time. It's called LayTrans, that will allow you to translate one set of layers to a totally different set of layers. So here's the deal. You have to have one drawing that has the correct layers and the correct properties for those layers. So you'll have to make that. And I'm going to guess if you're working with another company, somebody already has that. They already have a drawing like that. So get somebody's drawing that's right. And then you're going to load that particular drawing file, and I'm just going to randomly pick one. Okay, so let's say this is the new standard over here. These are the new layers I need to map these layers over here to these layers over on the right. Okay, so what a drag, but I'll show you how we're going to make it faster eventually. So it turns out this layer really needs to end up being on this map to that layer. As you can see, I'm obviously making this up. I want to map this layer with that layer. You can see down here, it's telling you what's going to happen when all is said and done. This layer now needs to be mapped to this layer down here. Totally making this up. Once again, you get the results of what will happen down here, right? And then when all is said and done, when you get it all mapped, which is going to take some time, you would simply say translate, and it would convert all of the layers that you have mapped to the new layers and the new layer settings, okay? But here's the trick. If you are going to be doing this over and over and over again, you are going to hate this tedious process. If you know you're going to be mapping the same layers over and over again, do yourself a huge favor and click on Save. And what you're going to do is you're going to save it out to a DWS file. Make sure you know where you're going to save this file to. Call it whatever you want, this DWS file. And then the next time you come into the layer translator, you're going to load that DWS file. You'll drop this down and you're going to load a DWS file. And what will happen is it will automatically map all those layers that you just mapped. It's going to know how to map them together. It takes like 5 seconds, and then you hit translate and you move on with your life. So the first time you do this, it's going to be awful. It's going to be tedious. You're going to say, oh, I hate my life. You're going to go, I hope I get paid by the hour. But then after that, all you have to do is come in, load the DWS, hit translate, and then you are out. It's going to be super fast, 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 fast. So that is layer translate. It's going to make your life a lot easier, much easier than going into the layer manager. That is for sure. Okay, what else do we got? All right, let me go back to the home tab on the ribbon. I'm sure most of you are familiar with this, but just in case you're not, sometimes I run into people who are not familiar with lay walk. Got the cute little footprints here, right? This allows you to take a look at what's on each individual layer very easily, which I like, much easier than going into the layer dialog box and turning layers on and off, right? Very, very easy to work with. And in case you were not familiar with this, you can do a reverse of this in that you can select objects, and then AutoCAD will show you which layers those objects were on. That's another option for you as well. So some things for you to think about. There are actually quite a few things in here you can do in layer walk. That was just a couple of things that I showed you. That's lay walk. Okay, how about lay merge? Let's take a look at lay merge. So let's say I have 3 plant layers right here. I only want one. I want to combine all 3 of those plant layers together into one. Have you ever wanted to do that? I'm going to show you how to do it. So I want to take this plant shrub layer and this plant shrub layer, and I want to merge it onto this plants layer. So I'm going to do a right click. I'm going to say merge selected layers to, and then you pick the layer you want those guys to end up on. I want them to end up into the plants layer. Hit an OK. Now it's going to come back and it's going to give you a little bit of a warning. It's going to say the selected layers will be merged into layer plants, which sounds so friendly and so easygoing. In reality, what it really should say, those 2 layers are about to be deleted. They're going to be gone from your life forever. Are you okay with that? Because they're going to be gone. All right, I'm going to say yes. Please note those layers are now gone. All the objects from those 2 layers have now been put onto the plants layer, and they now have taken on all the properties of the plants layers. You can actually see that my drawing looks quite a bit different now. Everything is now green. I'm going to actually undo that. But nevertheless, there was a lot more green there for a while. Okay, so that's lay merge. So how about copy to layer? So copy to layer allows you to kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone, even though I'm always saying, why do we need to kill 2 birds with 1 stone? That sounds so violent. But so it allows you to copy objects from one place to another and change them to a different layer at the same time. Have you guys tried that before? Because we often do make copies of objects and then we want them to go on a different layer, right? So let's do copy to layer. I know it's in the pull down. Don't be like me. Be better than me. I mean the ribbon. Ooh, boy, you can tell I've been using AutoCAD for a long time. Pull down. Did you hear that? Oh, goodness. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select a couple of objects. Those are the objects I want to copy. And then I want to tell it what destination layer I want them to go on. I'm actually just going to pick an object that's on the destination layer. I'm going to go ahead and select this object right here. So it's going to make a copy of those 3 plants, and it's going to put them on that layer. But now I need to pick where I want to copy them to. So I made a copy of these 3 plants, and I changed them to a current layer, to that layer at the same time. So that allows you to kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone, as opposed to making a copy and then changing them. So saves you steps. I'm all about saving steps. All right, ooh, this next one's one of my favorites. I love this one. Actually, I want to go to this one. Okay, so let's take a look at this drawing file. If I zoom in, let me go over to model space. If you zoom in, you can see that most of this drawing is gray. In fact, if I go to the layer drop-down list, I want you to see that every single layer is gray, which of course you would never do, right? You would never do that. Your CAD manager would have a heart attack. You'd be like, why is every layer gray? Okay. But if I zoom in, it is clear that not all of the objects are gray. And you know what that means? That means that somebody was misbehaved, right? Somebody did not follow the rules. They did not draw by layer. What's up with that? Darn it, don't you hate it when that happens? I know you would never do that. So let me just, let me explore this further. I'm gonna go ahead and select this object, and I'm gonna come over here to properties, and it says, sure enough, not by layer, it's magenta. Oh my gosh, and it has a line type, also not by layer. Now I could fix that pretty easily. That's not that big of a deal. I could fix that pretty easily. But if I were to come over here and select this object, looks like it's a block, right? And I come over to properties, it says it's by layer. I'm like, what? You're a liar. If it was by layer, it would be gray. Oh, so you know what that means? That there's an object inside of the block that's not by layer. Have you ever had nested blocks where the objects are not by layer? Oh, now fixing it, now I'm not happy. Now I'm cranky because that's going to take a lot of work. And I don't want to do a lot of work. I'm lazy. Let's go back to the original assumption. So consequently, in this situation, I am going to have to do quite a few steps, and we don't like that. So there's this great tool that's going to make your life so much easier if you run into these types of situations that allow you to do a massive set everything to by layer. and it's literally called set by layer. You don't have to set everything. You have a choice. So it says select objects. I'm just going to say all. I want it to grab everything. Change by block to by layer. You betcha, because that could be the problem, right? Including set by layer, including the blocks. So inside the nested objects, inside the blocks. You betcha. Yes. Now take a look at my screen. Everything is great. Everything is by layer. The world is a beautiful place. It only took me a few seconds to do that, and I'm not cranky anymore. But you still need to go find out who was the person that did that. Go find them. You need to find them. What's up with that? All right, and then let's go back over to the PowerPoint. And then last but not least, I'm not going to show you this one. I'm just going to talk about it. Hopefully you guys know about Laydell. Laydell is happy to delete any layer. Well, okay, not any layer. You know there's 2 layers you can't delete, right? 0 and def points, so not any layer. But it will delete any layer. It doesn't matter. Even if Purge won't let you delete it, it's happy to get rid of it for you. Now, there are a lot of reasons why we can't delete a layer. And we've all been there, right? Where there's that one layer that refuses to delete no matter what, and you don't know why. You turn off all the other layers, you're zooming around trying to figure out what is on this layer. Why won't it delete? The layer is empty. And you know, there are quite a few reasons why you can't delete a layer. It could be referenced in a block. There could be like an empty object on it, like someone hit the space bar. There's all kinds of sneaky things people can do to layers to make it so you can't delete them. Laydell doesn't care. Laydell is going to delete that layer no matter what. So for example, let's say a layer was referenced inside of a block definition. If you use Laydell, that command will actually go inside of that block definition. It will open it up. It will rip that layer out and redefine the block right there on the fly, and then it will delete the layer. Now that is power. Okay, just remember, where there is power, there is danger. So be careful. Be careful. Watch yourself. So just remember, Laydell gets rid of those layers that nobody else will let you get rid of. It's only for the serious commands. All right, so importing PDF files. So this is a feature that came out inside of AutoCAD 2017, and they improved it, got even better inside of AutoCAD 2018. Huge wish list request. This was on the wish list for, oh my gosh, a decade at least, and Autodesk kept saying, no, we're not going to grant that, but finally they decided to grant it. And you have the ability to take a PDF underlay that you already have inside of your AutoCAD drawing, or simply import a PDF file and bring it in and have it convert over to AutoCAD geometry. Okay, so you had to export it from AutoCAD to begin with. You should know that. It does a fabulous job, especially in 2018. 2017, sometimes things went a little wonky. 2018, it does a much better job. It does a great job with true type fonts. It does a great job with raster images. It does convert them to PNG files. You can control what directory those raster images go into, which is nice. It does not do a good job with SHX fonts, as I will show you, but we can get around it. In 2018, we made it easy for you to get around it. So I'm going to show you how. All right, let's take a look. This is everybody's, always a crowd pleaser. This is everybody's favorite feature. So let's go over to, I'm going to open up, actually it's just an empty file, nothing up my sleeve. Go over to model space, and I'm going to insert a PDF. So insert, look, can't get any easier than this, right? PDF import. I think that's pretty easy. Conveniently, I have one right here. Open. And at this point, we can't open more than one at a time. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select 2 on here. I wouldn't be surprised if they, eventually they add that in so you can open more than one sheet at a time. But right now, we can only open one at a time. And there's a variety of things that you would expect. Do you want to show the insertion point on the screen? Do you want to scale it now? Do you want to rotate it now? I'm bringing it in at 1:1. Some things to take into consideration, the layers. You probably want to use the PDF layers because those PDF layers are the ones that came from AutoCAD. I don't think you wanted to create object layers. I don't want a polyline layer. I don't want a circle layer. That sounds terrible. And I certainly don't want everything to go on the current layer unless I just wanted to anger my CAD manager. Do you want it to join line and arc segments? Of course. We want as few objects as possible. Maybe you do or don't want the line weight properties. And then AutoCAD and Team and I go back and forth about this. Infer line types from collinear dashes. This is off by default. You should know that. If it is off and it finds a line type like a dashed line type, it will make every single dash an individual object. I don't want that. I want it to be smart. I want it to figure out, hey, that's a line type. So they have good reasons why this is off, incidentally, but I always turn it on. And I'm going to say, okay. Give it just a second. It actually goes pretty quickly. And let's see what happens. Look how pretty that is. Now, if I zoom in, it just does a beautiful job. I've got polylines in here, and it mostly does polylines, doesn't use lines, which always makes me happy as a former AutoCAD instructor. Now, this is a TrueType font, no problem. I can double click on it, I can edit it, no problem. That makes me happy. TrueType font, no problem. There is a raster image in here. It had no problem bringing that over. It brought that over as a PNG. Let's not forget that. Okay, but this is where the wheels fall off, right here, folks. This is an SHX font. It didn't know what to do with it. It converted it over to a polyline. Well, that's all fine. It looks great. That's all good and well, unless you need to edit it. Okay, so now let me just say in Autodesk's defense, let me explain to you why it cannot convert SHX fonts. When you create a PDF out of an AutoCAD drawing file, you send it out to a PDF, Adobe does not recognize SHX fonts. It doesn't know what to do with them. So it rasterizes those fonts. It does not store the information as an SHX font in the PDF file. It only recognizes TrueType fonts. So that's when we try to round trip it. The information isn't in that PDF file to round trip it. So it's not our fault. I'm going to just stick by that. We wish the information was in there. It would make our lives a lot easier, but unfortunately it's not. So that doesn't matter. We decided we're going to make a workaround. We're going to help you out anyway. We're going to figure this out. Now up here, this is actually TrueType font. So that one's all right. That's M text. It's just a line right there. Polyline, probably made a polyline. So let's convert this text over to SHX. Excuse me, to a real life M text. Let's convert it to text. Let's do it. We can do it. You will see right next to PDF import, there are some options to recognize SHX text. Before we do that, let me just take a really quick look at these settings that you have control over. First off, you're going to put the fonts that could be in there, and do not select fonts that you know are not in there, because it will just slow you down, because it's going to go through all these fonts and try to figure out which one is the best match. The more fonts you have, the slower you go. It's that simple. And you also have a recognition threshold. How close do you want it to match before it's considered a match? And it defaults really high. And sometimes I have problems with it when it defaults really high. Oh, you can see I was in Kuwait last week. So that's why it says Kuwait there. I think everything in my drawing file says Kuwait now. I'm going to go ahead and I like it like in the 80s somewhere. And that seems to work out really well for me. So if you're having problems, you might want to lower that threshold so that it can actually find a match. I highly recommend that you do that. I like to use best matching font. So we'll go through here and pick the best matching. That's why you don't want to have too many selected. If you don't use best matching, it will actually start at the top of the list. As soon as it finds a font that falls within this threshold, it will use it. So if simplex matches enough, it will use it. It won't even look at Romanesque or TXT. So that's up to you. That's why you can actually order these, so you can move them around. But I use best matching, so it doesn't matter what the order is. And then as far, this is just a preview on a font. So like if I could change it to, you know, Synergist. Then if I wanted, I can't remember what a font looks like, I could just click on it and it would show me what it looks like. Okay. All right. So on that note, it looks like I got my settings okay. Let's do recognize SHX text. I'm going to go ahead and window the text that I want it to take into consideration. Let me just advise you, don't get anything in there that's not a possibility, or it could freak out on you. Like I would not want to include that line. I wouldn't include this text that's already good, because sometimes it freaks out. It doesn't know what to do. All right, just get what you're after. All right, I'm going to hit another enter. Give it a second or two. And look at that. Everything was converted. One font was used. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say, close that up. It's all good. It tells you the font, Romanesque. That's a beautiful thing. Oh, look how happy I am. Now, this is a TrueType font. I can double click on it. I can edit it. Okay, but the only problem is these are individual lines, right? If you want to edit it as a paragraph, well, it still isn't good enough. So many of you are familiar with the Express tool, text to MText. It's still in there under Express tools, but it also grew up and became a real live AutoCAD command. So you'll see text to MText right there. It also works on individual MText objects now, which is a beautiful thing. I'm going to go ahead and grab all these guys. I guess I could have done a crossing window. I'm not why I'm working so hard today. There are some setting options in there. I wanted to sort from the top down. I wanted to do a word wrap. I will tell you it's going to force uniform line spacing. So I am going to lose the nice line spacing I have here. Everything will be uniform, but I could put that back in. So it's not the end of the world. Okay, ready? Extra enter. I told you I was going to lose that, but I do have a paragraph now. So I could come in here and I could add the extra enter. I could add extra lines, extra line, extra line. I can totally edit this as a paragraph. I have all the power that I had before. So a lot of potential, lots and lots of potential. So can you bring SA text across? Yes, you can. You just have to do a little extra work with it. Okay, back over to the PowerPoint. And incidentally, text to MText now translates character codes correctly. Like remember %D for the degree symbol? It used to actually just translate it as %D. Now it's smart. It actually recognizes it, which is a beautiful thing. And there's like 5 of you who know what %D even means. And that means you've been using AutoCAD a long time. Okay, this is a Lynn favorite. And I think this is a crowd pleaser too. This is this wonderful dimensioning tool that I find that a lot of people just don't know about. You guys are still dimensioning the old way, and there's this really cool new way of dimensioning that's going to save you time. So let's face it, nobody says to themselves, yay, I get to dimension today. Because dimensioning is boring and it's tedious and it's ugh, right? It's, you know, it's just a necessary evil. But if dimensioning could be fun, you wouldn't mind doing it so much, and I would argue that this dimensioning tool almost makes it fun. So let me show it to you. I can't see your faces, so I won't know if I have actually convinced you it's fun, but I'm going to be optimistic. All right. Let's zoom in on here. All right, I need to do some dimensioning, a bunch of dimensions. There's a few dimensions on here, but there aren't enough. But first off, I'm going to make a layer for my dimensioning. I told you that you could use that drop-down list. I'm actually going to make a dimension layer. There's a new command, or actually it's a system variable called dim layer. I'm going to make my own. So there, I have my own layer for dimensioning. Why not? And besides, I can spell that. I didn't put Kuwait in there. All right, so very simple. This is this one-stop shop for dimension. You still have the old ways of doing it. You can still do that, but why? Don't do it. Use this tool. Look at it. It looks like it even has a little ray of sunshine right there. Click on the one-stop shop. Now take a look at the command line. This has entered you into the world of dim. You're now in this big world of dimensioning. So all it cares about right now is dimensioning. Some of you remember the old dim mode. This is way better than the old dim mode, I promise. I want to dimension that. I want to dimension that. Look how easy it is. Pick an object, pull it out, pick it. Let's break some rules, Lynn. Let's just cross dimensions. My drafting teacher is crying right now. So, you know, pick whatever it is you want to dimension and pull it out. Now you can still do it from corner to corner. I can still do it from corner to corner, not a problem. You know, it's up to you, or from one object to another. It's up to you. Not a problem. It's either way. I'm just kind of lazy. I told you that. So if you're doing the entire length of an object, by all means, just do that. How about this spiral staircase? I want to do diameter. I want to do, let's zoom in. I want to do radius, but it's not letting me do radius, right? No problem. Let's come down here and click on radius. It'll switch over. No worries. You have so many options, so many things you can do. What if I don't want to do a linear dimension? I want to do angular. If you select 2 objects that are not parallel, no problem. Look at that. Easy, easy. I could even do the other one, other angle as well. Super, super simple. It just takes you a while to get used to what and where you pick, but it is going to cut down the amount of time it takes you to dimension like crazy. Let me show you what else. I'm going to select this object here. I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to pick right on top of this dimension there. Now, you and I both know that's against the law. That's against the law of dimensioning. You cannot have 2 dimensions right on top of each other like that. You take a look at the command line, it wants to know, how do you want me to handle this overlapping dimensions? Do you want me to move the other dimension away? Do you want me to break this dimension line up and put them both in there? Or do you want me to replace the original dimension? Or do you want me to leave it the way it is and make your drafting teacher cry? Let's try the default of move away. So you'll see it moved the other the pre-existing dimension had to move. So this guy won, correct? Yeah, let's go that route again. I'm going to pick here. And I'm going to come up here and pick right on that dimension again. I get the same options. This time, let's do break up. Now, I don't have the same dimension style, so it's not matching as far as the dimension style is concerned. But you can see here, I basically made a continued dimension. And in this case, I didn't grab all the way to the end of that line, so it actually put two dimensions in there. But you can see that I now have a continued dimension. So it's pretty smart. It knows some basic dimension laws of the land, and it wouldn't let me break them. And then while I'm at it, okay, oh, one other thing I should tell you. I'm in this big, huge dim mode, all right? Big, huge dim mode. If I do an undo here, it will only undo the last dimension. Right, I'm gonna do an escape to get out of dim. You can do an escape or an extra enter will get you out. And now I'm at the command line. What do you think will happen if I do an undo here? Pray tell. What will happen if I do, oh, look at all those dimensions that I just put in disappeared. So do yourself a favor, remember that you're in this big old dim command. Undo wisely. Undo responsibly, all right? I can redo it if I'm paying attention. I can go, oh, I didn't mean to do that. I just wanted to undo the last one that I did. Nothing to redo. What? Oh my gosh, that is a bad day. I must have done something in there by accident. What? I wonder if I was goofing off and messed up my redo. Anyway, all right, be even more careful. I was playing around with the undo command. I think I messed it up. There are a lot of variables you can set for undo and redo, just so you know. New ways to torture your coworkers. All right, while I'm at it, did you guys know this? They added this in a couple of releases ago. You can actually, let me change the text. Augie wish list, because we love Augie. You actually can, there's now a slider bar that allows you to control the width of your dimension text. That if nobody tells you, you're not going to know. So now I told you. Now you and I both know. All right, so there's the land of dimensioning that I get oh so excited about. It's pretty cool. Undoing dimensions apparently won't let you redo them, at least not on Wednesdays. All right, XREF enhancements. Okay, I want to show you this because AutoCAD 2018 has so many new features in XREFs, and if no one shows them to you, you're not going to know they're there, you're not going to understand them. And let's face it, we all have a love-hate relationship with XREFs, right? We love them when they work right because they save us a lot of time. And boy, we hate them when they go badly. We don't like broken paths. That's a bad thing. And that can make our life miserable, and that can take a lot of time. So with AutoCAD 2018, Autodesk spent a lot of time working on XREFs to make your AutoCAD XREF life a lot better. Right out the gate, let me just tell you that the default now, when you attach an XREF, is no longer full path. Now it's relative. Okay, so just right out the gate, that's just going to make the world better from this day forward, because it's not going to hard code that full path in. If you don't like that, for some reason you don't like it, you like your life to go badly, you can set the system variable ref path type to 2 for full, or you can turn it off, set it to 0 for no path if you want to be a renegade. But by default, all new attached XREFs will default to relative, and I think that's just going to make the world fabulous anyway. Okay, there's also a whole bunch of new ways to fix broken XREF paths. And I just say in general, the XREF manager is a little more easygoing, which I appreciate. And so the goal here is moving forward, less broken paths, and also so much easier to fix it when you do have broken paths. Let me show you what I'm talking about. All right, you're gonna like XREFs again. So let's go over to, hope you guys are doing okay. Wherever you are, hope you're ready for the holidays. Ellen and I were discussing, I'll show you what that bubble is if I get to it in the presentation. It's probably driving you crazy. I turned it on intentionally. Maybe I should have shown that first. So here is the XREF manager. Okay, this is just docked over on the right-hand side of the screen. And I opened up a drawing file that obviously has a lot of issues. Okay, so if I came into work and I opened up this file that had all of these exclamation points, I would immediately say, I'm not feeling well, I think I need to go home. Hey, Joe, could you work on this drawing for me? Because what a nightmare. I've got orphans. That means it doesn't know who the parent is. I'd have to figure out who the parent is so I can fix it. I have some whole bunch of them which are not found. I have a bunch of broken links. Ugh. And I would say, look at all these hard-coded full paths. That's not making my life better at all. That's not helping. So, well, I guess I'll start out by trying to fix it. I'm going to go ahead and select this first one. Oh, it's going to be a long day, right? Right-click, select a new path. We've all been here, right? Okay, I know what directory it's in. It's up here. It's in this directory right here. There it is. I'm going to say open. Oops, pick it. Gotta pick it first. Open. Okay, check this out. This dialog box is just going to make your life so much better. Would you like to apply the same path to other missing references? What? Absolutely. It is about to do a lot of your job for you. No longer do you have to do these one at a time. Yes, please, sir. Okay, now look at those exclamation points. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, I got rid of 3 of them at one shot. That makes me happy. That's a good start. And you'd probably get rid of a whole lot more of that if it was just simply a directory that got remapped somewhere. You might fix everything with that one step. So that's a beautiful thing. Unfortunately, it didn't fix all of mine. So I still have to do a little bit more work. I still have a few not found. This one's not found, and this one's not found, and this one's not found. So let's do a right click, and you'll see there's also a new find and replace. Okay, that wasn't there before. So I'm basically just going to show it the directory that it needs to go to find and replace those guys. Now it just happens this particular directory is the directory I'm after. It's called services. So I'm going to leave it like that. I'm going to open it and I'm going to say replace all. I just happen to know that. Boom, 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 boom. And they were all updated. So you just need to go to that directory and it will do a find and replace automatically. That's another option for you. Okay. So a little search and replace was added in, and now all of these guys are all pretty. I just have these poor little orphaned, excuse me. You know, I don't know why I get a frog in my throat when I'm doing a webcast in front of, 100 people or so, but I'm fine all the rest of the morning. So these guys don't know who their parents are. Now in the past, if I went to a tree view, it wouldn't tell me, and it was hard to figure out who the parent drawing is. If you find the parent drawing, then you can fix the problem. Well, now you'll see when I go to the tree view, at least now it says, oh, the parent drawing is map based. There's the parent. Hey, Dad, we're orphans down here. Now you can go to the parent drawing. It's just not loaded. You just can reload it and the world's going to be fine. Now there won't be orphans anymore. Yay! Now they can see their dad. Thanks, Dad. We're hungry. Hope you bought us something for Christmas. So now pretty much all of these guys are fixed. This is unloaded. You can just reload that. That's not a big deal. All right, so look how fast I fixed all that. I'm going to show you one other thing you're just going to love me for. So one of the big problems is with XREFs with broken links is that people do a save as, right? And these are hard-coded. Look at all these hard-coded files that are still left. C:, devastating. You could fix those. Or when I do a save as, I'm going to do a save as. I'm going to go to a totally different directory. Where am I? Let's go over here or something. And I'll go to documents. Let's call it Expo Map 2. And I'm going to do a save. Check this out. The current drawing was saved to a different location. Do you want to update references with relative paths? Yes, please. Yes, 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 please. And then once again, you won't have any issues when you open that drawing file from that directory. It's going to be a beautiful thing. So all of that is going to help make your life beautiful. All right. Yay. XREFs are so much better in 2018. I keep saying less headaches. 2018 contributes to less headaches. All right. There you go. There you go. All right. Object selection tips. Where am I going on time? How am I doing? Ah, perfect. We won't get through everything. I have way too much in here, but we'll get as far as we can. So we select objects a lot. That's because we like to edit a lot. And I often joke that we don't like to draw in AutoCAD. We love to edit. In fact, if you need to draw something in AutoCAD, if you have anything in the drawing that looks at all like what you're about to draw, you would rather make a copy of that and edit the heck out of it. Even if it took twice as long to edit it, then draw it from scratch. And you guys know what I'm talking about. You're all nodding your head right now. Some of you are cracking up because you know it's true. We love to edit. We do not like to draw. So we should know how to edit, right? Anything that contributes to editing success is a beautiful thing. I don't know why. It's more fun to edit, but it is. So let's take a look at some object selection tips that are going to make it easier for us to select objects as we edit. All right. So I'm sure you know most of these, or at least half of them, I hope. But if you don't, let's see. Maybe you don't know any of them. All right, we're going to close this up. I need to move this over to do that. How am I going to do that? Let's go over to all right, just give me a second here. I need to move the panel over because it is in the way, so I can't close. You guys can't see what's going on. But I can't close the XREF manager because of the GoToMeeting panel. Okay, we're all good now. It's all good. Actually, while I'm here, before I show you what I'm about to show you, there's a tip at the very end, and I want to show that to you now, since I'm here. And I have the perfect view to show you. Okay, how's that? It's a fun tip anyway. You ever walked into a drawing and it had a bunch of dimensions on it, and we like to believe the dimensions are accurate, right? That if it says 1.5, it's actually 1.5. Only to find out later that whoever put the dimensions in, they cheated, right? They fudged it. They didn't get the right number, but they cheated. They overwrote it. So there is a very cool Express tool called Reassess. This is an awesome command that allows you to basically, you can say all for all the objects in a drawing, and it will highlight the offenders. Can you see that this one was highlighted right there? It's kind of hard to see because I have a black background right now. I don't know if I want a black background. Let's change it. You can't even see it. Well, first of all, let's undo. Let's change it so you can see options, colors. Let's change the background to white. And then apparently I need a grid. Let's get rid of that. Okay, let's try that again. Reassess. Okay, I'm going to say all. Now it's easier for you to see that. There are two offenders, this guy here and this guy here. That means that somebody overrode that text. Those are not the correct values. So if I hit an extra enter, you will see that it changes it to the actual value, which is not what I thought it was. And then you can go have a chat with the guy who did the dimensioning on this drawing file. Say, what are you doing, buddy? You can't be cheating now. It's going to mess everything all up, right? So that's Reassess. It's an Express tool. So if you have LT, you can't use it. Do not confuse it with Reassociate. Completely different command. Reassess, right? This is an Express tool, right? But that has nothing to do with what I was about to show you. Back to object selection. All right. As mentioned, I'm lazy. I'm working in someone else's drawing. I don't know what they did. We already learned that they were bad at dimensioning. I need to add another polyline just like this. It looks like a polyline. Yep, it's a polyline. I don't know anything about it. I don't know what layer it's on. I can find out. I don't know what the line type scale factor was. I just need to add another object just like it. So please note that the current layer is 0. All right, I'm going to go ahead and select this object. I'm going to do a right click, and I'm going to say add selected. I don't have to know anything. It's going to go ahead and add another object. It's got a snap on and everything. Add another object just like this one. Notice the current layer was changed temporarily to whatever layer that object was on. And it's going to make an object that looks just like that one. A little crooked there, but that's okay. So this object has the same properties as this one. It's on the same layer, same line type scale, same everything. If there was a width, it would have the same width. Okay, that's great for being lazy. I don't have to figure anything out. I need to add a dimension just like that one. I don't know what the style is. I don't know if it has overrides. I don't know what layer it's on. No problem. Select that dimension, right click, add selected. Go ahead and pick where you want it to go. Easy, piece of cake. Exactly the same. How about this text over here? Same deal. I don't know what the style is. I don't know what the height is. Let's do add selected. You do have to pick a start point. You do have to pick an angle, but other than that, that's in case you want to change the angle. Let me turn my cap lock on. There you go. Exactly the same. So be lazy. You're especially helpful if you're working in other people's drawings, or if you're working in one of your old drawings, you have no idea what you did in there. Okay, that's add selected. Here I have a rotated dimension, which another case where my drafting instructor would be unhappy. The angle is incorrect. Looks like a bunch of them are incorrect, but I don't know if they're all incorrect. Let's fix them all. I'm going to do right click. I need to grab all of my rotated dimensions, right? So I'm going to say select similar. It's going to grab all of my rotated dimensions that are on the same layer, and I'll show you how I know that in just a second. All right, let's very quickly go over to properties and let's fix that. Let's go to the right angle, right? Text rotation, it varies. Oh, so some of them probably are right. Let's make sure it's at 0. Oh, my drafting teacher is so happy now. Look at that. Okay, now how do I know that it was all of the rotated dimensions on the same layer? I'm going to go into settings. I went right back into select similar, and I went into settings, and you'll see it grabbed all the objects with the same name, so all the rotated dimensions, I think that should say type, that were on the same layer. If you take layer off, it will grab all the rotated dimensions regardless of the layer they're on. If you take name off, it would grab all the objects that are on the same layer regardless of what type of object they were. Does that make sense? I can't see you, so I'm hoping you're nodding. I'm hoping you're nodding. Okay, what else have I got? What else do I have? Have you ever had a hard time picking a boundary for a crosshatch pattern? It keeps grabbing the hatch. We have too many objects that are on top of each other. Sometimes we run into issues. Let's see if I can, when they're right on top of each other, we have a hard time getting the correct object. There is there's something called selection cycling. Is that it right there? No. Selection cycling, there it is right there. Remember the good old days when there was text down here? Selection cycling, now they're just blue and gray. And selection cycling is on for me. I often just do it with a Control W because I'm lazy. It's just easier and faster than trying to figure out which one of those blue and gray icons it is. If you'll notice those black boxes on the screen, they show up whenever I have more than one object underneath the pick box. Can you see that? That's maybe a little easier to see right there. I have more than one object under the pick box. Those two black boxes show up. I'm going to give you a great example. I'm going to pick right here. When I pick on here, it's telling me underneath the pick box, I had a polyline, I had a block reference, I had a line, I had a rotated dimension. Oh my gosh, did I have anything else? Nope, that was it. So I could, at that point in time, pick whatever it was I was after, and then I could erase it, I could move it, I could do whatever I wanted to. You can do that right in the middle of a command. You can do it before you go into the command, but that is selection cycling. Okay, Control W. Now I like to turn it off because it bugs me. So I turn it off. You can see I did a Control W. And then last but not least, how about object isolation? We're used to controlling object display with layers. We're kind of pre-programmed to do that, but there are actually other ways of doing it that you might find more advantageous than flipping layers on and off. That can become a drag. I actually think this is faster. So I want to just do some work on this section right here. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to window this area right here. I'll pick this XREF. I'm going to do a right click and I'm going to say isolate these objects. And what it will do is it will turn off every single thing, every other object, going to make it all invisible. And you know, if you can't see an object, you can't hurt the object, you can't edit the object. Maybe it's a little still too crowded for me. No problem. I'm going to go ahead and select this object. Let's get rid of a few of these others that are bugging me. You guys are bugging me. Do a right click and I'm going to isolate. In this case, I'm going to do it the other way. Instead of isolate, I'm going to say hide those objects, hide the selected objects. Oh, that's better. That's a little bit cleaner. So that's another way to control what you're working with when you decide to edit, because you love to edit, right? Clean things up, make it easier to edit. In the lower right-hand corner of screen, in the land of gray and blue, there is an option for isolating objects down here. You can click on this and you can see that you can end the object isolation, bring everything back. You can also hide or isolate additional objects down here. You can do the same thing you were able to do with the right-click menu. It's up to you. I'm going to end the object isolation. Everything will go back to normal. This used to be a nice, beautiful light bulb that was very easy to see, but now it's the blue and gray. That's very difficult to see. Incidentally, if you leave AutoCAD and come back in, by default, all of your objects will return. However, let me just go back over to my PowerPoint. You should know that if you set object isolation mode to 1, it will persist between drawings. So if you leave the drawing with a bunch of objects that have been hidden, right, that have been hidden, when you come back in, they'll still be hidden, which I always say is a fun way to mess with your coworkers. You can let your imagination go wild there. That's up to you. We just have a few minutes left. Let's see, what are we going to do in those few minutes? Let's have some fun. These are always fan favorites. Fan favorites. I did put so much information in here. I knew we wouldn't get through it all. So I always like to do this. This is kind of a fun thing to do. I want to lengthen all of these lines so they come out to here. How would you do it? Most of you would draw a line, a construction line, and use the extend command. But there's a command called change. You can do this with your coworkers. You know, I can do this in 2 steps or 3 steps. You'll win. Good old command called the change command that will make it easy for you to change the endpoints of these lines all at one time. No construction line needed. Go ahead and grab these 3 lines. Pick where you want the change point to go. I'm going to pick out here. And look at that. No construction lines. You just pick where you want the new endpoint to go. Wow, that's cool. Let's do that again. Let's go back into the change command. I'm going to do a P for previous to select the same objects. I'm going to go ahead and pick where I want the new endpoint for those lines to be. Look at that. You can trim as well. Same idea. All right, heads up for you. I had my ortho on. Let me show you what happens if I don't have ortho on. Let's do this again one more time. Change command, P for previous. Pick a point out here. Look at that. That's probably not what you wanted. So you do need your ortho on if you want those results. And then of course that's, you know, if you're doing this horizontally or vertically it works, but at an angle, not so much. You'd have to change the snap angle. You can do it if you change the snap angle. Okay, what else? We got a lot of fun things. This is a line. I'm going to go into the P-edit command. I'm going to select this line. And you've all seen this. Object selected is not a polyline. Do you want to turn it into one? Oh, snore. Why does it always ask me that question? Of course I do. I'm an intelligent human being. I went into the P-edit command, and I know it has to be a polyline before I can edit it. So let me make your life easier. There is a cool system variable called P-edit except. If you set that to 1, it will never ask you that question again. Yay! Let's go back into P-edit again. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select this object. Look, it didn't ask me that question. It was smart. It says, oh, she must want to convert that line into a polyline. And it allows me to go on my way, saving me from that extra enter, from that extra click. It's a beautiful thing. That is a truly beautiful thing. Admit it is. You know you love it. And then I only have time, I think, to show you like one more thing. It's 10:59. All right, so I will show. Did you know that you could hold down the control key to reverse an arc? I'll just go back to the PowerPoint. You don't need me to show that to you. Arcs like to go counterclockwise. You can tell it to go clockwise by holding down the control key. And if you've ever had a viewport inside of another viewport and you couldn't get to it, right, because it was completely enclosed inside of another viewport, do Control R. Control R will allow you to cycle through all of your viewports until you get to the one that's in the inside. Control R, try it. All right, on that note, you can see I have way too many tips in here. I'll have to come back and do another webcast for Synergist because I love Synergist. Anyway, on this note, I want to thank you for joining me. This is my email address, and feel free to follow me on Twitter if you want to. I am, you know, if you have no life like me, I try to put tips and tricks and tips up there as well. And I hope I get to see you this year at Synergist University. And I do lots of tips and tricks also at autodeskuniversity.com. You can also look up there for more information. And I'm going to turn it back over to Ellen. Thank you, Ellen, again for inviting me to do this. I appreciate it. And happy birthday to AutoCAD. And happy holidays to all of you.
Thanks, Lynn. And thank you to everyone for attending this webcast. Lynn provided us with a lot of really great tips and information. I'm not seeing any questions, but if you think of anything later, please feel free to contact your Synergist account manager, or you can email us at connect@synergist.com. So thank you all once again and have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.